leaders were about the whole Illinois recruiting thing here. Is it realistic to expect them for that not to be a motivating factor for them as they prepare to play this game?
Well, I certainly understand the question. I do, but at the same time, the biggest thing is that this is our first Big Ten game, and it's just our players are very focused on the Big Ten schedule. I believe that our players are really focused this week on building on what they did well in the Temple game and improving in areas where we really need to improve as it relates to the Temple game. And they're not concerned with anything other than playing a tough road game in Champaign against a good Illinois team. So the motivation is that it's our first Big Ten game on the road, which I just found out. We've been in the Big Ten 20 years, and I think 12 times we've played on the road. I'd like for Sunday for that to even out, maybe get a home game here at Beaver Stadium to open the Big Ten road season. But it's going to be a great environment in Illinois, and that's what our players are focused on.
I know it's belaboring it a little bit, 3 questions in a row now, but a lot of teams recruited your players. Illinois appeared to be the only Big Ten school that recruited your players. Does that bother you at all that a conference team came in and did that?
It takes a lot to bother me. So I would tell you that, again, our players, myself, our staff, we're very focused on the task at hand, which is practice today, first and second down practice, punt team, punt return team, PAT field goal block, and then tomorrow third down, more special teams, Thursday red area, Friday walkthrough, get on the plane, go to Illinois, and hopefully we're prepared to play a great Illinois team. And that's what our focus is.
Bill, the Big Ten's been getting some criticism for having a subpar record against other BCS conferences. I was wondering, how do you evaluate the strength of the Big Ten? And I was also curious, in the last few years before you were coach here, did you ever really pay much attention to the Big Ten, or what were your views of the Big Ten's quality back then?
Yeah, I'm not sure about. I haven't been able to watch every single Big Ten game. Obviously, I'm very, very focused on, and with our staff, we're very focused on our football team and day to day. So it's hard for me to judge, how well the Big Ten's playing and all that. But I do know this. From being at the Big Ten Media Days and meeting the other coaches of the other teams and meeting the other top players of the other teams, that this is an excellent conference with excellent coaches and really, really good football players. And, in my opinion, college football as it relates to conferences is somewhat cyclical. One year the SEC may have a great year, and then the next year maybe it's the Big Ten or it's the Big 12 or the ACC. I think it's it's cyclical as far as how many guys win bowl games and how many conferences win bowl games, things like that. And I would, my opinion is just don't bet against the Big Ten teams in this conference and these coaches and these players.
Bill, what are your thoughts about the defensive line talent in this game on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, it's the Illinois defensive line is a big strength for their football team and their defense. They have 2 defensive ends, 2 inside tackles that play extremely hard. Actually, we were sitting there watching these guys on Sunday and Monday, and just they remind us of what we play against every day in practice, which, again, our defensive line is really well coached and very, very good. And so it'll be, those 2 defensive lines don't play against each other, but it'll be fun for the fans to watch 2 really, really good defensive lines go at it on Saturday.
Bill, because of the unique position your program is in, I'm wondering if you could speak to the value of relationship building with the current team, assistant coach to player, head coach to player. Is it more magnified, important because of the situation, or is that just the way you'll coach?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Part of coaching is, in order to be a successful coach, you have to develop a trusting relationship with your player. Whether it's quarterback, linebacker, defensive tackle, offensive guard, whatever position you have to trust that you're putting that player in a position where he can really excel, and that player has to trust that what you're coaching him and telling him is the truth. And so whatever position our program is in, that's the way we'll always coach here. We're always going to be very upfront and honest with our players. We feel that that's important for our players to know. We feel that's important for future prospects to know that we're not always going to tell them things that they want to hear. We're going to just tell them the truth. Here's how you can get better. Here are the things you're doing well. Here's some things you're not doing so well. Here's what you have to do better in the classroom. Here's how you need to really think about how to behave off the field. Here's what respect for the game means. Here's what respect for professors mean. Here's what respect for administration at Penn State means. So, you know, I think if you can understand that about coaching, then that's really what the essence of college coaching is all about, and coaching in general, in my opinion.
You mentioned Belton. How about Day, Zordich, Dukes, all those guys? Are they all okay?
Yeah, they all look fairly healthy right now, Bill. They all look healthy. Zordich didn't practice yesterday, but I would assume, like I told you after the game, he's a tough kid, Youngstown, Ohio, tough dad. I'm sure he's on the phone with his dad. His dad's telling him to get his butt back in there, so I would assume that he'll be working today probably.
Coach, building on that, do you expect to have Stanley and Massaro back, and is Adrian Amos okay after getting his bell rung the other day?
Yeah, Adrian didn't really get his bell rung on that one. His helmet just came down. Adrian's fine. Stanley is probable. I would say he's probable, and Pete Massaro probably will not play in the game.
Hey, Bill. You discussed Charlie Fisher's role with the team before, but with Matt McGorn playing this well through 4 games of the season, can you elaborate a bit on how Charlie's been in practice and games, how important it's been?
Yeah, Charlie has a bit, just like all the assistant coaches, we really have a neat staff of guys, you know, we really do, and Charlie's role is important because, and it's pretty neat how it works out because, you know, I have a little bit of a temper and Charlie's probably a lot nicer than me, you know, so it's pretty neat the way we kind of play off each other. But Charlie has done an excellent job, number one, of learning our system, which isn't the easiest thing to, you know, you've been coaching for 30 plus years, you come into this new offensive system, so he's learned it himself, so now he's able to teach it. What stands out to me about Charlie is how he talks to the quarterbacks about mechanics and reads and how to think about plays, and I think he's played a big role with all the quarterbacks, and he's just a guy that's been around a lot of good quarterbacks, a lot of good receivers, and he's brought that to Penn State.
With regards to like the kick and punt returning, I know earlier you said that it was like you'd have a lot of guys go practicing for it and everything. With Jesse Della Valle, did you see something in him that made you want him to audition as a returner, or did he kind of suggest it? And what do you like about him as a returner?
Well, I'll tell you what happened with Jesse Della Valle was before the Virginia game, John Butler, who oversees special teams, he came in the locker room before the Virginia game and just said that, look, Jesse's catching the ball the best in warm-ups. And that was a tough environment. You know, Virginia is a very, very tough environment, and Jesse was, you know, cool and calm and catching all kinds of different punts that were deep, punts that were short, and he was catching it the most consistent. And so we went with him, and he did a nice job in that game. And then last week, I thought he did a really good job of, you know, some guys have a knack for that. You know, they can catch it, they can understand the return, they've got good vision, and he's got a little bit of a knack for it, and we're going to stick with him, and he's done a nice job. He's one of those guys like Mike Hull, like, you know, Zordich. They really have a neat little role on the team and have really bought into it. Jesse's one of those guys. Jesse was our special teams player of the week last week.